everyone, and welcome to the City of Pompano Beach Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Thursday, February 15th, 2024. Martha, would you please call the roll?
Yes, good evening. James Bunn.
Present.
Penny Cutt.
Here.
Richard Daly.
Present.
Ada Roddridge. Linda Thomas.
Present.
Daniel Yaffe.
Here. Thank you. We do have a quorum. Folks, I'm going to take a few minutes. I know some of you have heard this before, but to tell you a little bit about what we're doing today, how the meeting runs. We're the Zoning Board of Appeals. We're here to listen to your request for temporary permit, special exception, variance, because you feel that your property, for whatever reason, doesn't fit within the codes and ordinances of the City of Pompano Beach. So the board is made up of myself, 3 folks to my left, 2 folks to my right. We live here, we serve without any compensation. And to my far right is Mr. Scott Reale from Development Services, James Saunders, Assistant City Attorney on my far left, and Martha Lawson, Chief in charge of everything. So what we're going to do tonight is I will call you, first in a couple of minutes I'm going to ask everybody to stand up and swear everybody in at one time. And then when I call your case, I'm going to have you go to that podium, tell me who you are, spell your last name, and then give me your address and if you've been sworn in. In case you forget, I'll remind you. But this is you're under oath. This is a public hearing under oath. Once you do that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Reale to give the staff report. When he completes, you'll have an opportunity to present your entire case, you or your counsel, bring any evidence in, call any witnesses. Being that this is a public hearing, at some point I will ask if anyone in the public wants to speak. First, I'll ask for those wishing to speak in support, and then those in opposition. Anyone who does speak can be cross-examined by counsel or the plaintiff in this case. Our goal is really to be sure that you got a fair hearing, a full hearing. So during the process, I know some of you may not be represented by counsel, ask me. I can't make your case for you, but I can at least guide you through the process and procedure a little bit better. With that, I'm going to ask everyone who thinks they're going to speak, and I don't like to swear people in twice, to please stand up and Martha will swear you in.
Good evening, everyone. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. You all may be seated. Before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping. We have a light calendar tonight in terms of number of items. I won't say in terms of length of items. But I'm going to take, I'd like a motion to take item number 3 before item number 2, because I believe that's going to be a much shorter hearing. So do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So anyone here from A.G. Trepp, Pompano property owner, you're going to come in second, okay, right after this hearing. Thank you. Get out earlier. Okay, this is item number 1, a special exception for the City of Pompano Beach, P&Z 24-17-000002. Go ahead. No, tell us who you are. I know who you are, but you have to tell everybody else.
No problem.
For the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Paula West. I am Principal and Senior Land Planner with Plan West. Address is 10152 Indian Town Road, Unit 159, Jupiter, Florida.
Have you been sworn in?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reale.
Thank you.
You've been sworn in.
Yes, I have.
All right, then let's go on.
And for the record, Scott Reale with Development Services, and this is P&Z number 24-17-000002. The applicant landowner is requesting a special exception as required by Section 155-4208G1 of the city's zoning code in order to utilize the subject property, which is zoned RS3 for a BSO police substation. The property is located on the southwest corner of the intersection of Northwest 4th Court and Northwest 27th Avenue in the Northwest CRA. The applicant is proposing a 2,749 square foot BSO police substation facility on the subject property. This project is identified in the city's capital improvement plan. An associated minor site plan was approved on September 7th, 2021 via P&Z number 21-12000014. The subject property has split zoning. The eastern two-thirds is zone B2, which allows a police substation by right. However, the western third of the property is zoned RS3, which requires special exception approval for this use. The ZBA previously granted a special exception for a police substation on this site on January 16, 2020, via P&Z number 19-17000008. However, the order expired, as do all special exceptions, after 2 years if an associated zoning compliance permit or building permit is not pulled, or if the order is not formally renewed before the expiration date. According to the applicant's narrative, there were design and civil changes during the site plan process, which led to unintended delays. Compounded by the pandemic, the applicant inadvertently failed to request an extension within the required time frame. Thus, a new special exception application has been filed. But unlike the rudimentary conceptual site plan submitted in the 2019 application, this one includes an approved site and landscape plan, a recorded plat, and the support of the CRA and surrounding community. A Type C perimeter buffer landscape strip properly buffers the use from adjacent residential properties. Staff finds the BSO substation use to be appropriate, warranted, and an essential asset to the neighborhood. There are 13 special exception review standards. They're included in the backup of this report. The applicant has addressed each of these, and should the board determine that the applicant has provided competent substantial evidence sufficient to satisfy the 13 special exception review standards, staff requests the board include the following 2 conditions as part of the order. And the first is to obtain all necessary governmental permits and approvals, including a zoning use certificate and business tax receipt for the use. And the second recommended staff condition, building permit plans shall be in substantial compliance with the approved site plan, which again is P&Z number 21-12000014. That concludes staff's report.
Thank you, Mr. Reale. Ms. West, tell us why you're here.
Thank you so much.
I think I remember, but remember this hearing before.
Yes, so before I start, and actually the last time you heard this item, I wasn't presenting it. But anyway, before we start, we do want to say that we have no objections with the staff conditions. So thank you again, Paula West. I'm here to present the special exception for the BSO substation substation. And with me I have Hector Gandia, who's the project manager for the city for this project. The property does not have an assigned address just yet, but potentially it will be 2714 Northwest 4th Court. It is in the Collier City neighborhood. As Scott pointed out, only a portion of the site is in the RS3 zoning district, and that is the portion that we're asking for the special exception for tonight. Most of the project is going to be within the B2 zoning district, which is the area in red. And the surrounding uses, as you can see, are mostly single family. We do have a few retail stores to the south and to the east, as well as a church property to the east. And of course, the request is the special exception for the RS3 zoning portion of the property. As Scott mentioned, this was heard previously in January of 2020. We had a different P&Z number because this is a brand new application. We could not extend that order any further. There were a lot of delays due to design and civil engineering in addition to the pandemic, and that's kind of where we are now, but that's the request for you. Very quickly, we are consistent with a comprehensive plan. We are located in 2 split land uses as well as zoning districts. Both of those allow a community facility such as a police substation. We are consistent with several objectives and policies of the comprehensive plan that are adopted. Those are in very detail justified in your backup. And the property recently in 2022 was platted for this specific use and recorded with the county. There are no use-specific standards for the substation under Article 4 of the zoning code. As Scott mentioned, the project was reviewed by the Development Review Committee. I did not have to go to the Planning and Zoning Board because it's not a major project, it was a minor. but we did obtain a development order, and therefore we do meet, and we are in compliance with the zoning district standards. We did, our order for the special exception expired in February of 2022, as I mentioned, and we did obtain a site plan development order extension, but not the special exception, and we are currently in permitting. I believe, I just confirmed with Hector that we're in our third round of comments right now, so we're very close, pending this. Our use avoids overburdening existing public facilities. We don't have any adverse odors or glare. We don't have a high collection of trash. There's not a lot of parking issues. There's no overlighting. The function of the substation is pretty much like a small office. It's less intensive than a typical retail use in that the B2 zoning district, and the use in site will comply with all relevant city and state and federal laws. The use is an essential service for this neighborhood. We are located in the proper land use, and we are within a neighborhood that is a little far from the public safety complex, which is where the nearest police station is. The building, most of the parking are located on the east side of the property, which gives us a good amount of space where we can put a wider buffer on the west side, which is right abutting single family. And the buffer is a 10-foot code-required buffer with an 8-foot, precast concrete wall. And in addition, not only are we buffering the vehicles and the use itself, but we're also providing privacy for the single-family residents that are to the west and to the south. The site design includes shared bicycle and vehicle access, as well as bike racks. The pedestrian walkways are provided to allow pedestrians to come in from the public sidewalks. We have 2 parking lots, one for staff and one for public parking. Both of those have the proper turnaround and the proper stacking lane distance required by code. The 2 parking lots are separated, which actually are in conformance with the subted guidelines for the city. We only have 1 curb cut per street. That is for both 27th and 4th Court. And the use, bless you. The use allows for the protection of property values and allows, more importantly, the city to kind of keep up with the demand of not only the existing development, but the new development that's definitely coming up, especially in the Northwest and in the neighborhood zoning districts. So the fact that we are so far away from the closest police station demonstrates the public need for this service, for this use. The project is, as Scott mentioned, identified in the capital improvement plan. If you look in the CIP website, you can see that the project is already behind in construction timeline. And in your backup, there's an article from the Pelican that actually talks about how the residents are concerned with the gun violence in this area. They were concerned with where this police substation, where the timeline for construction was going to be. They mentioned that there had been 2 shootings just over December, unfortunately. And this is the site plan. As you can see, those are the 2 parking lots, and just the bottom hatched area is just an easement. And I think that's it. I'm here for any questions, and so is Hector.
Thank you, Ms. West. Does the board have any questions? Okay, well, this is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak in support of the petitioner? Hearing none. Martha, I just want to check, I didn't see any correspondence.
That's correct. We didn't have any.
Well, that'll explain that. Does anyone here wish to speak in opposition? Hearing none. If we have no further questions, we'll just give you closing comments.
Just here for questions.
Go ahead. You want any closing comments?
Just here for questions.
Okay, well, in that case, the public hearing is closed. Board discussion and a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
In the planning and zoning case 2417000002, I move we find there is competent and substantial evidence in the record that all requirements for granting the special exception have been met, and that we grant the special exception subject to the 2 conditions requested by staff.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me, we need to roll call this one. Martha, please call the roll.
Okay, Richard Dowley,
Aye.
Penny Cutt,
Yes.
James Bunn,
Yes.
Ada Rogers. Linda Thomas.
Yes.
Dan Yaffe.
Yes, you're approved.
Very
Or the
much.
city's approved. All good. Next up is item number 3, which is the special exception for AG Trepp, Pompano Property Owner LLC. It's a special exception for PNZ 24-17000001. Please tell us who you are.
Hello, my name is Tess Cavalier. I'm with 160 Driving Academy, so not AG Trepp, they're our landlord. So we will be the tenants at this property.
Great. I'm sorry, and can you give us your last name?
It's Cavalier, it's Cavelllier.
And would you spell your address? I didn't quite get it.
Oh, address, it's 21 East Chestnut, apartment 11F, Chicago, Illinois, 60611.
So you had to come to Florida for a meeting.
It's not the worst place to come.
Somebody had to do it.
Yes, exactly.
Have you been sworn in?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thanks. Scott, tell us what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is P&Z case 24-17000001. The applicant landowner is requesting special exception approval as required by section 155-4228A of the city zoning code in order to utilize the subject property, which is zoned I-1, general industrial, for outdoor storage as a principal use for overnight parking of trucks associated with a truck Driver Training Institute. The property is located on the south side of Northwest 22nd Street, approximately 750 feet west of North Powerline Road. The applicant is proposing, again, a truck driver training institute on the subject property, which is located in a mostly industrial area off of Powerline Road known as Power Park. Overnight storage of semi-tractor trailer trucks used for on-site training is part of the business model, and that is what triggers the need for a special exception. The subject property was annexed into Pompano Beach in 1983 as part of House Bill 923. There have been a variety of uses throughout the years, including a truck parking lot and a construction yard. However, because these uses have discontinued and because there has not been an active business tax receipt since 2020, a new special exception is required. The property obtained site plan approval in 1996 via PRA 96-0143 for trucking. However, most of the required improvements were never completed. Similarly, a variance was granted in 2015, and that was P&Z 15-11000030, in order to allow a 5-foot landscape strip between a building and a vehicular use area, rather than providing an 8-foot landscape strip as per code. However, the approval was conditioned on the implementation of site plan application P&Z number 15-12000069, which never obtained never obtained a development order. Therefore, that variance is null and void. The property does have an active code case with building safety compliance. That's case number 22-06006271, related to the previous tenant. However, the current landowner is addressing these issues through building permit 93-9194, which is currently in plan review. And we have our code enforcement specialist here to speak more about that if you have any questions. If the special exception is approved, the site will require compliance with perimeter buffer and screening standards for principal outdoor storage, as well as an overall minimum 20% pervious area on the site, which is consistent with I-1 zoning district standards. Staff finds the proposed use to be appropriate and compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, and the closest residential district is over half a mile away. As always, there are 13 special exception review standards. The applicant has addressed each of these in the backup of your application. They're noted on the staff report here. And should the board determine the applicant has provided competent substantial evidence sufficient to satisfy these review standards, staff requests the board include the following 3 conditions as part of the order. And the first recommended condition, obtain all necessary governmental permits and approvals, including a building permit and zoning compliance permit for the required improvements, and a zoning use certificate and business tax receipt for the use. A second recommended condition, close out building safety compliance case number 22-06006271. And the third and last recommended staff condition, building permit plans shall comply with all use-specific standards for outdoor storage as a principal use, including perimeter buffer and screening standards, and maintain an overall minimum 20% pervious area on the site. And that concludes staff's report, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reale. Ms. Cavalier?
Perfect, thank you. So, yes, again, I'm with 160 Driving Academy. A little background on our company. We're the largest truck driver training school in the nation. Right now, we have 155 locations across the country. We have 3 here in Florida, currently in Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa. So hoping to bring a school over here. We've been looking to open up in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach area for a while, and found this site and thought it was great for us. So again, we're zoned properly for a vocational school, but in order for our business to work, we need to be able to park trucks there. Again, the area is mostly industrial, so we don't think that having the trucks there will be a nuisance to the surrounding areas. A lot of the nation's largest truck carriers trust us and have hired us to train all of their drivers. So our number one focus is putting safe drivers on the road. So we would love to be in Pompano Beach. In the area, there's a truck repair store. There's a lot of gas stations. So we would use those businesses to help our business. We don't do any fueling or maintenance on our yard. So that would go to various businesses in Pompano Beach. That's kind of an overview. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this a permanent location or is it temporary?
Permanent.
And you're training for...
Please turn on your microphone, Ms. Thomas.
Okay. And the training is for truck drivers?
Yeah, so for people to get their CDL license. So it's like when you go to driving school as a 16-year-old, this is just driving for a CDL license. So it's a 4-week program. It's around $6,000 per student, and then they can get on the road after 4 weeks.
Thank you.
We give them great training.
Just quick question here. Fuel storage on site, or are you going to be purchasing all fuel from the gas stations around?
Purchase it from the gas stations. We don't keep any fuel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question. Any additional questions? All right. We're not in a questioning mood today.
I'll take it.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak in support of the petitioner? Hearing none, does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the petitioner? And Martha, I don't see any correspondence.
That's correct.
All right. And I think, Scott, you said that the code case will be solved by this.
Yeah, it's currently in building permit review. There was the one structure that's on the property had some safety issues. That's being dealt with.
Okay.
That was no fault of the current tenant. It's former, but it's being resolved.
All right. Public, so we have nobody in the audience. Any last questions? Closing comments?
No, thank you guys, and thanks, Scott, for all your help with this.
Well, Scott's a good guy. He does a lot of help for the people in Pompano Beach. Thank you. The public hearing is closed. Board discussion, motion,
Like to make a motion?
please.
Any?
Planning and zoning case 24-17000001. I move we find there is confident and substantial evidence in the record that all the requirements for granting the special exception have been met, and that we grant the special exception subject to the 3 conditions requested by staff.
Do I have a
Second.
second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Martha, please call the question.
Penny Cutt,
Yes.
Richard Dally,
Yes.
James Bunn,
Yes.
and Ada Rogers, Linda Thomas,
Yes.
and Mr. Yaffe.
Yes, you're approved. Good luck.
you.
Welcome to town. All right, does anybody want to take a break for a little bit, or could we go straight to the last case? All right, I got to get that keep it going motion there. All right. Last case for tonight. Item number 2, specialty exception for Kaja Properties. This is P&Z 23-7.
Mr. Chair, okay. Never mind. I apologize. Council has advised me to leave it for the end.
Okay. Where was I? P&Z 23-170007. Counselor?
Hi, Good evening, Board Chair. My name is Jana Loda. I'm an attorney with the law firm Holland & Knight, and please forgive me, I too am losing my voice slightly. My last name is spelled L-H-O-T-A, and I have been sworn.
Thank you.
Okay.
Scott, before you start, I want to be sure that this hearing goes, and the thing I said earlier is my job is to be sure everybody gets a full and fair hearing. We had the first one, you got the rehearing, so it's basically a new hearing. Since then, since the last time to tonight, two of our members have not heard any of the presentation from last month. So if you would like, and I'm going to kind of leave it up to you, if you'd like to start at the top and have Scott can start at the top and we can just.
Absolutely. Knowing that we have two new members here, I was intending to go through my entire presentation, probably to the chagrin of some of you that have heard it a few times already, but I will try to be as brief as I can be, but as thorough as possible because it is an important issue.
And you definitely need, I don't want to shorten your presentation. I want to be sure that, again, the full and fair presentation. I also want to just let you know for the record that I was able to open all the files down to the MIA appraiser report for the I forget what the feasibility
analysis.
study, to the traffic study, to the fan noise study, and so I did and was able to see all of those. And I'm assuming everybody else could do the same.
I'm happy to hear that.
Okay, so being that we're going to start it from the beginning, Scott, you get to go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening again, everyone. Scott Reale with Development Services. The applicant landowner is requesting special exception approval as required by Section 155-4219H1 of the Pompano Beach Zoning Code in order to utilize the subject property, which is Zone B3, for a car wash. The property is located on the west side of North Federal Highway between Sample Road and Northeast 39th Street. The parcel is considered a through lot with Northeast 18th Terrace abutting the west lot line. The applicant is proposing to demolish existing buildings on the subject property, actually they may have already been demolished by now, and redevelop the site with a drive-through car wash facility containing 4,902 square feet of enclosed building area, 11 vacuum stations, and associated parking and landscaping. Car washes require special exception approval in the B3 zoning district. A pre-application meeting, P&Z 23-12000036, was held on August 8th, 2023, to discuss the conceptual site plan for the car wash. The special exception application was first heard by the ZBA on September 21st, 2023, where the board voted to deny the car wash use. 2 members voted in opposition to the use. 4 members voted to support the requested use. However, an associated variance application, which was P&Z 23-11000018, was granted in order to allow a drive-through facility service to be located less than 100 feet from a residential zoning district. On October 19th, 2023, the board granted a rehearing request for the special exception after the applicant presented new evidence that was not readily available at the September 21st, 2023 meeting, including an FDOT meeting summary, additional queuing study, and a traffic impact statement. Additionally, the conceptual site plan has been modified to provide an additional means of egress along Northeast 18th Terrace on the west side, which is the rear of the property, which previously was intended to be used only for emergency or fire access. Staff believes this secondary means of egress may help to reduce congestion on North Federal Highway, which is one of the main concerns of the board at the initial public hearing. The property immediately to the south is a Wawa convenience store and gas station. The property to the north is a tire and auto repair business, and the property north of that was recently approved by the ZBA for automobile parts sales with installation for wrapping vehicles with vinyl in an enclosed facility. Thus, it does not seem out of character for an automotive-related use to operate at this site. If the special exception is approved, that property will require site plan and building design review. There are 13 special exception review standards. The applicant has addressed each of these in their backup of your application, and the 13 review standards are listed in the staff report. Should the board determine the applicant has provided competent substantial evidence sufficient to satisfy these 13 review standards, staff requests the board include the following 4 conditions as part of the order. 1, obtain all necessary governmental permits and approvals, including site plan, building design, zoning use certificate, and business tax receipt for the use. 2, close out all open building permits. 3, substantial compliance to the updated conceptual site plan submitted with this application. And the 4th recommended staff condition, no operation associated with the use shall occur in a manner that impedes the normal free flow of vehicular or pedestrian traffic on adjacent rights-of-way, that being North Federal Highway and Northeast 18th Terrace. And that concludes staff's report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reale. Counselor, tell us why we're here again and again.
Good evening. Once again, Jana Loda with the law firm of Holland & Knight with offices at 515 East Las Olas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. Also with me here this evening are several members of our team. We have Paula West, who you just heard from earlier this evening with Plan West, as well as our president and CEO, Mr. Justin Landau, and our civil and traffic engineer, John Irvani. We're before you this evening seeking the redevelopment of the site located at 3685 North Federal Highway with a state-of-the-art automatic car wash. As staff indicated, the site is located north of Sample Road, west of Federal Highway, and is abutted to the west by Northeast 18th Terrace. The property has a residential zoning on the west side of Northeast 18th Terrace, but the uses along that road are predominantly commercial or have some commercial component to them. Indeed, the property that is located due west of our property is improved with the Pompano Beach Sail and Power Squadron. As staff indicated, this is the third time that we've been before you. We were first before you in September of last year seeking approval of this project. At that time, the board considered 2 applications. As staff indicated, one was for the drive-through related use adjacent to residential zoning, which was approved unanimously by this board. And the second was the request for a special exception, which was denied with 2 dissenting votes. As staff indicated, the main issues that were raised during the board's deliberation at that time, it related to the vehicles exiting the site onto Federal Highway. And for the 2 board members that are here tonight that were not here in September, at that time, our site plan provided for all ingress and egress to the site to be from Federal Highway via 2 full access, meaning ingress and egress access drives onto Federal Highway. We had no egress onto Northeast 18th Terrace at that point. It was only for emergency traffic. The other issue was a concern over the increased traffic from the proposed use. Following the September hearing, we received formal notification from the FDOT following our pre-app meeting that actually took place in August before our September meeting, that they were going to approve access onto Federal Highway, but with the elimination of the southernmost full access. With that, we immediately filed for a rehearing, which was considered by this board in October, and was unanimously determined by the board to grant our rehearing, which is now being considered by you tonight. We came before the board last month in January, and as you heard earlier, there was some issue with some members being able to open up zip files that were attached to the agenda, so we elected to defer to ensure that everyone had the information before them in their deliberation of our application. So that brings us here tonight. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to go over a little bit of who exactly is National Express Wash, the applicant that's before you, and how they operate their sites, since it is very important to your deliberation of this special exception criteria. I'll then go through an site plan and some renderings of showing you how the site's been designed and how it will operate, and then I'll conclude by going through the special exception criteria. So with that, I'd like to now just to turn to a few slides to tell you about who exactly is National Express Wash. National Express Wash, which operates under the brand L Car Wash, is a local company that's headquartered right here in Miami-Dade County. They are one of, if not the largest company of its kind in Southeast Florida, with over 30 sites currently in operation and many, many more in development. If you look at this slide, you can see with the white squares, those are their current sites that they have throughout Southeast Florida. The pink dots are sites that are currently in development or under construction as we speak. On the far left side of the slide are the sites in Miami-Dade County. Then you go to the center, you see Palm Beach County, and their sites extend all the way up into the greater Orlando area. One thing that our client prides itself on is its community aesthetics. It's aesthetics based on the community in which they're siting their facilities. Here you see some slides from our North Miami site on the left side of the screen. And then you see slight differences and subtle changes that have been made to address our site that we recently constructed in Palm Beach Gardens on the right side. As I get into the renderings that we're proposing, you'll see how we've even taken further steps to adapt this facility to the particular needs of Pompano Beach. This is a slide that I want to go through because this is going to allow me to highlight how El Car Wash differs from many other car washes in this same sphere, and also to kind of address many misconceptions that people have with respect to car washes and automatic car washes, particularly our clients' operations. The first of which is the hours of operation. Many car washes, particularly those that are accessory to gas station uses or even some freestanding self-service car washes, operate 24 hours a day. Our operations are predominantly a daytime use. We operate from the hours of 7 to 9 p.m. Our facilities have a very strong community and environmental impact. And by this I mean we use significantly less water than your at-home car wash. So they are highly sustainable and environmentally friendly. But just by way of example, our average car wash is about 45 gallons per wash, where an at-home wash can be anywhere from 80 to 140 gallons. Our client uses biodegradable and environmentally friendly products. They actually recycle a large portion of the water for use in future car washes, for example, the undercarriage of the car. They filter all water before it's discharged into the sanitary sewer system, which is, again, a difference from at-home car washes, which tend to discharge into the stormwater facilities that serve the cities. Another thing that you'll learn about is sound. Many of your car washes that are, again, attendant to a gas station, or even at gas stations, if you've ever gone there to vacuum your car, you know that the producer is right there and unscreened, and that's the noise that you hear. Our entire site is served by a single producer. That's the actual engine that makes the sound, and that producer is always enclosed in concrete. And on this site, which you will see, it's actually enclosed within the tower element, within the actual building itself. So the vacuum hoses at the individual parking spaces, there's no motor associated with them. All you hear at that point is literally the sound, the air that's being intaked in the hose when they're in use. Excuse me. There's no music or loudspeakers associated with our site. There's even no speakers associated with our payment kiosks as you go through the drive-through. The site will comply with all photometric standards. This use generates typically many lower trips than many other uses, commercial uses within the B3. The other thing that is unique about our use as compared to many other car washes that you may be aware is that it is very labor light. Our staff does not touch your car. There is no detailing that is performed on site. There's no temporary tents. There's no people drying your car when you leave the car wash. We typically have only 3 to 4 employees on site at any one time. One employee's sole job is just to maintain the site, emptying the trash, just making sure the site is always kept clean and equipment is all in place. Another employee is typically stationed at the payment kiosk just to answer any questions about car washes, the type of car wash, and just making sure that people filter through the kiosks without incident. And then the third employee is typically stationed at the entrance to the tunnel just to help guide the cars onto the dragline equipment. Forgive me. And then finally, it's a very secure operation. It is a cashless operation. Most of our customers have monthly memberships, so there is no cash exchange whatsoever. It's also very secure because our client usually deploys at least 20 cameras throughout the site. They're in every community that El Car Wash cites their locations. They always strive to be a good community partner. They have many key strategic partnerships that you can see on this screen. They also run many promotions for first responders and other service personnel, as well as give back programs for local nonprofits and charities. Okay, turning back to the site, here again is a close-up aerial of the property. On the left, you see the photographs of the site. It is improved with two different buildings. One is a about 2,500 square foot sit-down restaurant that is along Federal Highway, as well as a two-story building located in the rear that totals approximately 12,600 square feet. With the redevelopment of the site, our client would basically scrape the site in lieu of what you see here on the site plan. This is the revised site plan that takes into account the determination we received from FDOT, which removes the southernmost full access onto Federal Highway and provides for the egress only onto Northeast 18th Terrace in the rear. This is something I wanted to highlight, and this is the queuing that we are providing on site, which far exceeds the city code, but also exceeds many of our other sites in terms of on-site queuing, both cars entering the site as well as exiting the site. What you see here, and there's two different colors, and I'll just explain. The cars highlighted in red, that is the queuing on site for cars entering the site and entering one of the three kiosk queues. There are 17 car queuing capability from the payment queues back into the site, plus 3 more before you even enter the tunnel. This exhibit also shows that with the elimination of the south full egress drive, we've literally doubled the amount of queuing that can occur outside the tunnel onto Federal Highway, as well as an additional, I believe, 7 or 9 cars that are able to queue out Northeast 18th Terrace. Also included in your backup, just so you have it, and I will include another copy for the clerk, is the queuing study that was provided as part of our application, and which studied the peak hours of 2 very busy locations of El Car Wash here in South Florida, and which showed that the queuing that we're providing on the Pompano site far exceeds these other sites. This is an excerpt from our traffic impact statement, and again, I have John Irvani, our engineer, is here to answer any questions. And this is a comparison of the trips associated with the existing uses on the site. That's the sit-down restaurant and the 2-story office building against the proposed car wash use. This is using the ITE traffic generation, which is a common standard approved by many cities and counties in terms of traffic engineering, and it shows generally across the board, both on average daily, AM and PM, that we have a reduction in trips associated with the use. And now I'll turn to the rendered site plan, and this is just so I can provide you with a little bit of explanation as to how the site circulation will work, and also the aesthetics that we've built in that are fairly unique to this type of use just here in the city of Pompano Beach. Again, all ingress and egress to the site, ingress to the site is via exclusively from Federal Highway. Cars will enter the site and go into the interior lane to then turn south into one of the 3 kiosks. As is typical in El Car Wash locations, one of our 3 kiosk drive-through lanes there on the west side of the site will be for members only. A large portion of our customers are monthly memberships, and this allows them to seamlessly pull up, have their LPR or their RFID scanner on their car read, and then they just immediately proceed into the car wash tunnel. As you proceed into the car wash tunnel, when you exit, you have an option either to drive pull into one of the vacuum stations that's provided on site or exit the site via Federal Highway or Northeast 18th Terrace. From this exhibit, you can start to see one of the things that's very unique to the site. And one of them is that we are providing at both the entrance and the exit to the tunnel an enclosure. We are actually enclosing the building on the south and the west or east side respectively to hide basically the tunnel itself from the users to the east and the west. And this is very, very unique. I'm not aware of another automatic car wash doing something similar to this. The other thing that I mentioned earlier, and this is that we have a single producer or engine for our vacuums. Typically, it's in a concrete enclosure on site. On this particular property, we are actually locating it in the tower, or that front element of the building, actually enclosed fully within the building itself. The other thing that's unique about our operation as compared to many other automatic car washes is how we hide the actual vacuum hoses. You'll see when I get into the renderings a little bit closer of view, but we actually provide a tubular canopy that provides some measure of shade, but it does a very good job of actually hiding the vacuum. So when you see some automatic car washes with the big circular vacuums that are like individual at each space, you won't see that with our car wash because they're incorporated into that architectural element that we have over our vacuum stations. All right, here's our landscape plan. You can see we have a fairly robust landscaping along the north property line. We also are providing additional landscaping within the swale along Northeast 18th Terrace. One of the additional things that we're doing with the site plan is we are actually installing a sidewalk along Northeast 18th Terrace where one presently doesn't exist. We also are providing landscape throughout the interior of the site that you're going to get a better viewpoint of when we get to our renderings. And we're here now. So here's a rendering of our site from Federal Highway. This is a view looking west into the site. You see now that singular ingress off of Federal Highway to the north. This is a view a little bit to the north on Federal Highway, looking northwest across the site. Now this is actually as you enter into the site, recall that I mentioned earlier, cars going into the car wash would queue and we'll have signage, obviously not only pavement marking signage, but signage in the site to indicate that they would move to the south or the interior lane. The north lane is for exit only onto Northeast 18th Terrace, but you can see we've landscaped both sides of this drive-through. This is now you're turning and heading south into one of the three payment kiosks. The northern, or the westernmost, excuse me, is dedicated to members only, as I mentioned earlier. Here you're starting to get also a little bit better view of those metal tubular canopies that do a good job of hiding the vacuum hoses. You can also see here the enclosure that we have over the tunnel entrance on the west end of the site. This is a view from Northeast 18th Terrace. Again, we have landscaping that we are proposing in the swale. We have a concrete precast wall that will be constructed as well as other landscaping material. All right, so now I'd just like a quick run through this because I've already talked about a lot of this. And this is the site and sound operations for the site. One, I've already mentioned that the producers associated with the vacuums, they're wholly enclosed within the concrete enclosure to assure that there's no noise associated with those. The only other kind of producer that we have of no noise on the site are the blowers that are on the inside of the tunnel. At the exit to the tunnel, that is on the Federal Highway side, we use silencers on our blowers, which significantly reduces any noise. Couple that with the fact that we also are enclosing the exit to our tunnel, which provides a secondary mitigation measure. So those all together, we are very confident that we're going to meet or exceed the city's noise ordinance as to that. With respect to site operations, I've already mentioned that we are a very labor light a labor light operation. Our hours of operation are 7 to 9 p.m. and all photometric standards of the city will be met. With respect to design and screening, I already showed you our landscape plan. Again, we are meeting or exceeding the city's landscape requirements. Our building has been designed aesthetically to hide our overhead doors, our tunnel operations from the east and the west. Our architecture provides a mix of materials and finishes, and we have a varying height and facade treatment to our building. Now I'd like to go through the criteria for the granting of a special exception, and then I'll conclude because I think my voice is going to end anyway. All right, there are, as staff mentioned, I believe 13 criteria for the granting of a special exception. Included in our backup, and in your backup was a copy of the narrative that was prepared by Ms. West. The first criteria is that the application is consistent with the comprehensive plan and all applicable standards in the zoning district for which it is located. In her narrative, Ms. West cited a number of policies, goals, and objectives in the comprehensive plan that are met. I won't go into them specifically unless you'd like me to, but I would just like to highlight that one thing that's become particularly important to the cities are the sustainable aspects of a development. Again, I turn you back to the fact that this use uses substantially less water over at-home car washes, recycles waters, use biodegradable products, and even in our construction materials, we have sustainable design as well. The next is that we comply with all applicable zoning district standards and comply with all applicable use-specific standards. The site plan that we've presented here tonight meets all the requirements of the code in terms of dimensional criteria, setbacks, buffers, height, you name it. The only specific standard that we did not comply with was the location of the drive-through service within 100 feet of a zoning residentially zoned property. And I just would point out that this board did grant that variance back in September. The next criteria is that it avoids overburdening the available capacity of existing public facilities and services, including but not limited to streets and transportation, schools, potable water, sewage disposal, stormwater, whatnot. We previously provided information to you from the traffic impact statement that was provided, and again, I have a copy I can provide to the clerk tonight, that when compared against the vested use, the proposed car wash use actually results in a reduction in trips associated with the property. We also included in the application our queuing study, which demonstrates that this site, when compared to other car wash sites at peak hours, has more than sufficient queuing capacity on site. We also highlighted earlier how this use actually helps reduce water consumption and the demands on potable water facilities through the equipment and method of operations operated by our client, coupled with the recycling of water for future uses. We also showed you the benefits of our operation, which filters the wastewater through an oil water separator before any discharge into the sanitary sewer system, as compared to at-home car washes, which drain into the ground or into the city's stormwater facilities. The next criteria is whether or not the site is appropriate for its location and is compatible with the general character of the neighboring lands and the uses permitted in the zoning districts. Evidence for the standards shall include, but not limited to, population density, intensity, character, activity, whatnot. As pointed out by staff, there are auto-related uses to the north and to the south of the site, and the fact that the property to the west, while zoned residential, is actually being used for commercial uses. As you can tell from the design that I showed you in the renderings, great care has been taken to mitigate any impact associated with this special exception use. We are actually enclosing the entrance and exit to our tunnel. We've added architectural elements into the design. We are proposing a precast concrete wall along Northeast 18th Street, a new sidewalk, landscaping that all assures that the project is compatible with the general character of the neighboring lands. And then again, I highlight the efforts that we are taking to mitigate or eliminate any noise by virtue of enclosing of the equipment associated with our operation. The next standard relates to the fact that whether or not we are avoiding significant adverse odor, noise, glare, and vibration impacts on the surrounding properties. Again, there's no odor generated by this use. We previously provided information regarding the operations of the site and the continual maintenance by our staff by a dedicated employee. We highlighted that the vacuum, the single vacuum producer or equipment motor for the vacuums is located wholly within our building. Again, I highlight the tunnel exit and entrance that are going to be physically enclosed. Our lighting will meet city code. There'll be no spillage onto adjacent properties. And again, our hours of operation are compatible. We'll be closed by 9 p.m. The next standard is that we adequately screen, buffer, and otherwise minimize adverse visual impacts on neighboring lands. Again, I highlight the landscaping, the pre-cast wall, the physical enclosures that we are proposing, which is unlike any other automatic car wash facility in the area. The next standard is that we avoid significant deterioration of water and air resources. Again, I refer you back to the numerous environmental positives associated with this use and the specific operational practices that El Car Wash employs, the use of biodegradable products, recycling of water, reduced use of water over at-home washes, the use of an oil water separator before discharging into the sewer system, among others. That we maintain safe and convenient ingress and egress and traffic flow onto and through the site by vehicles and pedestrians. Here we believe that any concerns associated with the ingress and egress were addressed by virtue of the reconfiguration of the site, in part the result of the FDOT determination to eliminate the south full access, and again the secondary egress that we're providing onto Northeast 18th Terrace. We believe this fact was tacitly recognized by this board in granting the rehearing as one of the 3 criteria for granting of a rehearing is that the new evidence here, the elimination of the south access, the result of the FDOT determination letter, had a strong likelihood of affecting the outcome of this hearing. The last criteria, I believe, second to last criteria, is that it allows for the protection of property values and the ability of the neighboring lands to develop uses permitted in the zoning district. Again, I can't emphasize enough that this is a special exception use. It is not a prohibited use in the B3. It is simply a use that requires you all to consider whether or not we've factored in the various impact that that use may have on the surrounding properties. And we believe through our design, through the architectural elements that we're adding, and how operationally we intend to run it, that we have satisfied that. We believe the redevelopment of this site will only enhance the surrounding areas by bringing in a necessary community amenity, but also new construction and buffering in addition to the sidewalk that will be constructed along Northeast 18th. It's also anticipated that based upon the total financial investment here, and that's the land acquisition coupled with the building construction, that the taxable value in favor of the city will be significantly increased. And last, that the special exception fulfills a demonstrated need for public convenience and service of the population of the neighborhood for which the special exception use is sought. Here I turn to the feasibility analysis report that was included in our backup and in your backup, and again I have a copy for the clerk if needed, that shows that there is a significant demand for additional car wash services within this local market, particularly a modern express car wash, such as El Car Wash, and the other ones that we will comply with all city, state, and federal laws, which is a condition of our approval. It's for all these reasons, ladies and gentlemen, that we respectfully request your favorable consideration tonight of the special exception. We believe that we've provided substantial competent evidence to support this decision, and I stand ready to answer any questions as well as anyone here on our team. And I thank you for your time. I know I've taken longer than you probably expected.
Thank you, Counselor. We're here to accommodate. Does the board have any questions at this time? Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm happy to see that the exit is now going to be available on the backside. What is if you can bring up the image of the drive-through lanes. Here we go. You can go back 2 slides forward. One more. one more. Where are we? I'm lost now. This is fine. So what's to prevent someone from entering off of Federal and using the exit-only lanes, creating a logjam from people trying to exit from the car wash onto Northeast 18th Terrace?
We're going to have, you're talking about the northernmost lane.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, I can tell you right now, we're going to have signage as well, pavement signage as well as signage that will direct people into that lane. We also have, as I indicated, personnel on site. So if that starts to occur, we can stop that behavior almost immediately by directing them into the correct lane.
My biggest concern, and I've driven through this neighborhood multiple times in anticipation of this. My daughters go to school up there on Sample, and I've seen cars queued to leave Wawa and sitting in that right lane where cars are going to try to exit onto Federal. So if there is a logjam on the exit-only lane onto Northeast 18th Terrace, it's going to cause more of a backup in that area.
I'm going to have the president, Justin Landau, please.
I'm going to need your name, address, spell your last name, and tell me if you've been sworn in.
Justin Landau, 2831 South Bay Shore, Miami, Florida. And yes, I've been sworn in.
And spell your last?
Landau.
Thanks. Go ahead.
The exit to Northeast 18th Street, or Northeast 18th Street itself, has less than 1,000 cars a day. There is never a time when you're exiting our property to go, I guess that would be west, that there will be a jam to leave the property. So
I'm more concerned about cars queuing in to go in. So like, let's say that the left lane, where it's the enter car wash lane, is backed up 3 or 4 cars. Someone's going to pull in and stay to the right and try to get all the way around to get to their members-only lane.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but you're going to have to talk into the microphone. Thank you.
You can lift the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Gotcha. We have bollards that will be at the end that will direct everyone who's in the car wash lane to stay in the car wash lane, and you won't be able to basically go over. So if you're getting a car wash when you enter the site, you have to be in the left lane. You will not be able to be in the exit-only lane and then get a car wash.
So you're saying there's going to be like physical bollards or like a physical wall of some sort?
Physical bollards that are put into the ground.
Similar to like what you see on 95 that keep people out of express lanes.
Okay. Okay.
So we can just knock those over too?
For a fine of what, $125?
Exactly. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Oh. No, we're not done. We're not there yet. This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak in support of the petition? I'll ask you to come to this podium, please. And I need your name, address, spell your last name, and if you've been sworn in.
My name is James. Last name is Argyropoulos, Argyropoulos. My address is 809 Northeast 17th Terrace, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Thank you, sir. Have you been sworn?
I have been sworn. I just want to say thank you for having us tonight, and I just want to put a note out. And I've been here in Pompano for quite a while. I'm a Pompanoian. I went to high school here. I've been here for a very long time. I've worked with Scott Reale for a very long time. I thank you. You guys are very lucky to have a gentleman like this working, and the staff. I work professionally with a lot of different trades, and Mr. Reale is one of the best folks I've ever worked with in anything. So I just wanted to put that out there. I own the property, the subject property, and I've been there for a very long time. And with our current status of work from home, as you know how it's going right now, office properties are taking a beating. One of the hardest things I have as a current property owner is trying to find tenants, local offices that want to use an office building. A lot of people talk about how they're trying to pull workers back into the office. There's a lot of chatter of, oh, it's going to be a requirement, but it's just not happening. I surveil the property 24 hours a day, and I have a very difficult time with vagrancy at the property. The property is not set for visibility, unfortunately, and in an area that is very transient, it tends to house a lot of opportunity for transient use. But I have prepared a little bit of a statement in regards to the property. Again, the subject property is surrounded by automotive use. Considering it's located between a Wawa, tire, and auto repair business, the proposed car wash is not out of character to operate there. And will have a positive impact on local traffic and local commuters. Car washes don't create traffic, they abate traffic. When you're going to take your daughter to school, that's when car washes get their use. Nobody generally leaves their home to go get a car wash and go home. It's generally a commuter-based abatement. So that's just an interesting thought for traffic there. And a secondary means of egress exiting the property just really allows the property to flow. I mean, they have to run a business that uses cars in a line. If their line doesn't work, their business doesn't work. It's antithetical to think that they could operate their business successfully like they do. They're one of the largest car wash operators in the state. If they wouldn't be that, if they didn't take into account queuing and traffic and how it affects local traffic. The group has put a generous amount of effort to present this board with a contemporary design for public service. I'm hoping the board can recognize a few things. The traffic mitigation through a beautiful site plan, the crime prevention through environmental design, and a harmony with other automotive uses, and the fulfillment to all the standards required for special exception. With a new plan in hand, this is an opportunity for this board to improve traffic at that intersection, elevate the curb appeal, and attract a continued interest amongst other institutional organizations. We're trying to attract people to Pompano, not vacate them. What's on the site now is a 12,600 vacant office building. It's set up as an office building. That's what it is. It doesn't have any sort of visibility from US 1, so it makes it very difficult to get an office use in there. And it's surrounded by automotive use, and quiet offices don't want to be surrounded by a tire shop with an impact wrench. It's just a change of use is necessary for the property. And I would say the last thing, the number one reason why people get their car washed is that it makes them feel good. It does. That's why people do it. You know, people like cleanliness. I ask a lot of people, why do you get your car washed? How do you feel when you get your car washed? It's like the car goes faster. It's just a way to feel good in a very economical way. We want to take on that feel-good mentality in Pompano. A vacant building and a dilapidated restaurant does not do that. The restaurant has been there since 1974 and was underneath a 50-year lease that just expired. The place is an eyesore. I own the place, I can call it that. It needs redevelopment, and this is an excellent opportunity to work with an excellent group that has every resource to make this thing beautiful and pop for the city of Pompano. And I just leave that over to you. You guys are in a great opportunity to really bring something very nice to the city of Pompano and really develop something that is very needed and wanted. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak in support? Hearing none, does anyone wish to speak in opposition? Again, hearing none. Martha, just double checking on correspondence?
I don't have any.
Okay, I didn't see any up here. Thank you. Counselor, any questions from the board? No? Yes.
Oh, you might have to push the button.
What is the waiting period for one car to be done? What is the wait? How long does it take you to prepare a car?
Again, there's no preparation of a car. It's literally they pull up, and again, predominantly most of our customers have memberships. So once they arrive at the kiosk, their car's like immediately read, whether it's an LPR license plate reader or an RFID, which is like a scanner that's on the side of your car, like a little barcode. And then they proceed right on into the tunnel. I believe the actual car wash is about 3 minutes. That's correct, to go through the tunnel. And then it's a product of whether or not they want to just leave the site because they don't need to do anything else, or if they want to drive and use one of our complimentary vacuums that we have in the center of the site. But other than that, again, there's no like preparation or anything like that that goes on because it's purely a customer-driven experience.
You said membership.
Yeah, I would just add one thing. It's a conveyor system, so there's multiple cars inside the tunnel at the same time. So when the gate arm lifts and a car drives in, the next car can be 3 feet behind it. So it's not one car per 3 minutes. You know, there's as many cars as can fit in the tunnel at one time. So there's 5 or 6 vehicles in there. So leading to less queuing because it's not one per 3 minutes.
So what happened if I pulled in and I'm not a membership? If I don't have a membership, what would happen?
If you pulled in and didn't have a membership, we have a sales associate there who will talk to you, and that's why we like having 3 lanes. The members can go through the members-only lane. If you're not a member, there's a sales associate there to tell you about the business, how the car wash actually works, tell you about the different products, and see if you want to purchase a single wash or if you're a resident nearby or someone who works in an office building nearby and would like to buy a membership so they could use it, or any of the other 40 locations more frequently.
And the kiosk, again, it's not your traditional, like, where you order, there's a microphone. It's just simply like a flat screen, and you just pick which wash, and then it's just paid by a credit card, and then you're done.
A question, the vacuuming is going to be done on the outside?
Yes, sir. It's underneath. If you look at this aerial, this rendering, you can kind of see that tubular canopy system, and those are the individual spaces, and there's an actual hose there. It's just the hose. Again, the producer is inside the building. That sits on like a ledge at the head end of where the car is. So when it's sitting there, there's no noise. And then when somebody wants to vacuum, they just take that hose and vacuum their car. And the only sound you hear is the intake of air in that hose, which is very minimal.
Think of it like a central vacuum system in your home where you plug it in and there's no noise when it's not being used, or minimal when it is being used.
Any other questions? All right. Counselor, closing?
No closing. I'm just able to answer any questions. Again, I think I hope my presentation was fairly thorough. And again, we just hope and respectfully request your favorable determination. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to be sure for the record that you've had an adequate time to make your entire presentation amongst all these visits.
I have, Chairman Yaffe. Thank you for the time that you've given me. I know I probably got more than most.
Again, our goal is to have a full hearing.
Understood.
So, thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Board discussion or motion?
I'd like to make a motion. In Planning and Zoning Case 23-17000007, I move that we find there is competent and substantial evidence in the record that all the requirements for granting the special exception have been met, and that we grant the special exception subject to the 4 conditions requested by staff.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you. Made and seconded. Let's discuss. Anybody wants to discuss? No discussion. Call the roll.
Penny Cutt.
Yes.
Linda Thomas.
No.
James Bunn.
No.
And Richard Dalley.
Yes.
Ada Rogers.
No.
Dan Yaffe.
No. Sorry. It failed. We've got 2 other things to continue tonight. First of all, I skipped over the minutes. So if you wouldn't mind, if I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 18th meeting?
So moved.
Second? Somewhere?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. And there's a change, I just need a motion to change our September meeting. I don't know why, but it's on the form to September 18th. That'll be the 3rd Wednesday. Do I have a motion for that? Thank you.
Second.
Martha, can you tell us why we're changing that?
The budget department is having a budget, and they wanted to know if they could use the room for our annual budget meeting that night.
Can we rent it out to them?
Yes.
Because if it's our room, then...
For a fair price, yes.
Yeah, I'm just
We have
thinking.
to see if it's in the budget.
Or sublease. Okay, we have a motion made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion
Thank
carries.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That's it, guys. Great meeting, and we'll see you all in April.
April.
Oh, March.
It's March, isn't it? We're in April, we're in July.
I'm leaving next week.
We're in February, we're going to March.